response?
I'm a seaweed.
I exerted myself for that one. Get it?
Oh, you won't tap during your next untap step.
Won't untap. But
Won't untap.
But we will get some kind of benefit from me not untapping. Like I'm going to get +2/+1 in lifelink.
Or you're going to crap out a 7/7 worm that can't be blocked by power 2 or less.
That's pretty much my every morning. Yes. Wow, what up? Welcome back.
Hello.
Thank
you for spending your time with us.
We did the Amonkhet pre-release.
Yes.
We're going to talk about how it went. We both had great decks.
It was fun.
Jake had a great deck. I had a shitty deck. It happens.
So it goes.
Yeah,
so it goes. New set. So it's difficult to kind of... It's overwhelming when you're opening all those cards right there in that moment. So it's like, where are my playables? What direction do I want to go?
I was actually doing that at the table, and people were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm having a stroke." And they were like, "No, man, come on, you're okay." And I was like,
they were like, "No, he's not having a stroke. He's just grunting from all of the new playables."
That's right. So we played the pre-release. We're gonna let you know how it went. You ready to go?
I'm ready, man. Let's get into it.
Do it. Okay, so first we're going to talk about Jake's deck, what his pulls were, and how it went.
Alright, so, wow. My pulls were kind of like all over the place. As you know, when you open the pre-release pack, you get 6 packs of the new set, and you get 1 seeded
Stamped foil promo
rare or mythic from the set.
What was your stamped foil promo from the set?
It was Champion of Ronas.
Mine was Drake Haven. Go ahead and spoiler alert that right there.
So both of these cards, insane in this.
Yeah, pretty good. Could have gotten a land. That's how guys pull lands.
We'll just go ahead and talk about my deck here. The rares and mythics that I ended up using were Nissa, Steward of Elements. Obviously, my Champion of Ronas.
Yep.
Samit, Voice of Dissent.
So good. I got my tush whooped by that card one game.
Archfiend of Ifnir.
Also very good.
And Honored Hydra. So you're like, Jake, you just named a bunch of cards that are
all over the place.
Every color. Yes, I did go all colors.
Jake built 5 colors in a sealed deck.
I used Oashra Cultivator. I had 2 of those for mana fixing. I had a Painted Bluffs and an Evolving Wilds. Samit forced me into red. And then I was like, well, once I'm putting 1 red in here, why not just put 1 white? That way I can use the Samit ability if I get her out there.
Yeah.
This deck...
I tried to talk him out of this pre-game. As he was building, he was like, I think I need to go 4 colors. And I said, you're insane, pick 2.
And then I ended up going 5. But...
it worked.
You could check out the deck list. Mm-hmm. The deck ended up going 6-0 until the final round. We do 4 rounds at our local game store. Mm-hmm. So 0 losses until the final round. I split and then got 2-0'd by a red-black unblockable kind of thing. It was just way too fast for me to deal with. I'll go ahead and walk you through some of the fun interactions that this deck had. It ran 2 Watchful Naga, which helped to draw cards when you exert them. And Champion of Ronas actually had 1 game where I played Champion of Ronas on turn 4. Turn 5, exert it. I exert it into Greater Sandworm, the 7/7 that can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Mm-hmm. And then in my second main phase, I played Archfiend of Ifnir, which ended up just being such a busted turn.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
Yeah, I've got a 7/7 now, and I've got a 5/4 flyer, and the opponent's just kind of like, and next turn I cycle a couple cards to put -1/-1 counters on their dudes.
Yeah. So your deck was really good. What were some of the things that got played against you?
Yeah.
That you saw were, hard to deal with or could possibly have gotten there?
Well, I will say, until the final round, the deck was pretty oppressive. Mm-hmm. I didn't really feel a lot of heat. But in that final round, what I noticed is that red has a lot of unblockable features. It's like discard a card, this creature can't be blocked this turn.
Yeah.
Or put a -1/-1 counter on one of your opponent's creatures. That creature can't block this turn.
Yeah.
And so you have this one red, one other guy that's like you could tap him, target creature with power 2 or less, can't be blocked this turn.
Yeah, he sneaks you through the maze or something
Right.
like that. I forget what his name is.
Yeah, but essentially, this deck is a little bit top heavy. There are a lot of 3-drops in it. Like I said, Nissa, Steward of Elements, which is also such a house of a card. It comes with so many abilities, and it's good anytime you play it.
Yeah.
If you're like behind, sure, play it on turn 3, scry 2, make sure your next draw is going to be good.
Right.
If you're ahead, sure, play it for
That's why I like Nisa a lot.
6 loyalty, reveal the top card. Most likely it's going on the field.
Right.
So, I mean, this card is very strong. I expect this card to do things in this format. Aside from that, I'll go really quick. There were just a couple little cards. You know, I only had 3 removal with Final Reward and Illusionary Wrappings, and then, like, Bone Picker that had Flying Death Touch. Also,
Let's talk Illusory Wrappings real fast.
Yeah.
I saw that it is, on the surface, a card like this, because I played it too. On the surface, a card like this is really good in your average set.
Yeah.
This set in particular has so many creatures that pump themselves when they attack, or can pump themselves if they exert, or if you cycle or discard something, pump themselves. And so, strangely, I ran into a lot of times where I wasn't playing Illusory Wrappings on the biggest threat
Yeah.
because it was just going to be able to pump itself anyway. I'd rather remove a threat completely and it just sit there as a 0-2
Right.
than, turn a guy down 2 notches. More often than not, that's what I'm saying. That is what that card is going to end up doing, because sometimes you're going to have to put it on the biggest threat, even if when you cycle a card he gets +3/+2 or whatever.
Right.
It's it's going to help.
Yep. One little thing that we need to look out for, Embalm effects. Embalm effects are excellent.
Yep.
I had Labyrinth Guardian and Honored Hydra, both with Embalm. This little blue guy...
In limited, Embalm is insane.
Yes.
It's really good.
Yes. I don't think the removal in this set is super duper deep.
No, it's not. There's going to be a lot of ground deadlocks. Flying is going to be a big thing. We'll talk about that when we get to me. Flying in return. Flying in Embalm, so when your ground stuff bumps, it can come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, 5 colors got there.
5 color got there, man.
Insane.
I did get 2-0'd in the final round, but six wins until the final round and then split. All in all, super fun time. I think the set is going to be fun. Like all sets, people will probably burn out on it once they've played it enough. But,
Sure.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. So, my deck. My stamped promo was Drake Haven. Really loved that. Started looking through cycling almost immediately to make it work. One of my rares was Hazaret the Fervent. And so it was like, maybe red. That's going to be good.
Yeah.
My best removal was also in red with 2 Electrify and a Magma Spray. In black, I ended up with Splendid Agony and also Dread Wanderer. Dread Wanderer ended up being an MVP in my deck. He just keeps coming back over and over and over. I can use him to chump. I can use him to get in early beats if he possibly gets out there turn 1 or 2. The only downside to him is that he comes into play tapped. And so he's not an option to chump block every single turn.
Right.
But he will be, a thorn in their side. As far as other blue cards, I ended up with Pull from the Morrow, great draw spell, instant speed, loved that. I would just do it at the end of their turn.
Yeah.
It also makes you discard a card, which at first sounds like a drawback, but in this set, there are so many things that say when you cycle or when you discard a card.
Right.
Do this.
Right.
And so I could use that to not only net myself cards, but trigger those abilities if I needed to. It was a little janky when I used it to trigger abilities, and I made my opponent laugh one time when I was like, you ready for this janky stuff?
Yeah.
But it worked. I got Vizier of Many Faces. Vizier of Many Faces turned out to be a really good card because not only is it copying something, but when it dies, it has Embalm. And so it's one of those that copies the big threat on the board, and they can bump against each other, but then it comes back and copies the second biggest threat on the board. Or I can double one of my big flying creatures. I did that a couple of times.
Right, yeah.
Past that, my deck was a lot of flying. There was a lot of the stuff that I read and kind of researched on my own before the actual pre-release event was showing that there were a lot of ground deadlocks, that people would just be playing a bunch of 2-2 to 4-4s or anywhere in between.
Yes.
And everybody just ends up kind of sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I specifically built to try and get around that. Now, did it work? Hell no, it didn't. I went 0-2 and then dropped.
I mean, normally with flyover, you're like, okay, I can get there.
No, I thought it was a stronger deck than it ended up being. Now, however, game 2 was better. Let me tell you. Round 1, I was playing 3-color, and I was on game 1 of round 1. I was on 1 color the entire game, and it was my off color. It was red when my main colors were black and blue.
Oh, that's lame.
And then round 2, I drew 3 mana the entire game. And that was the guy that drew Samet and played her turn 5 2 games in a row. And I was just like, well, the Magic Gods didn't want me to win this one. Game 2 was much more competitive. We were under 5 every single game of that round. Both of us. It was very close games. Either of us had the momentum at any given time. I was very happy. I ended up losing, went 1-2 in the second round, but I was very happy with how the deck performed in that second round. Overall, it's like Jake said, learned with this set, got a little more comfortable with this set.
Yeah.
This is what you'll be playing limited of at GP Vegas, if you're going to that, which we are. I doubt I'll be playing Modern. He's still toying with the idea, but I'll probably be playing Limited.
I'll probably do Limited, but I'm very close to having Death Shadow put together. I have Modern Affinity.
Right.
I have Modern Burn. So just trying to see what I want to do.
Yeah,
this is pretty fun.
Pretty fun, but it's a fun Limited, and especially once we learn it and have an idea of what can get there, we'll be even more comfortable.
What turns me off about Modern Limited at the GP?
What turns you off about Modern Limited?
What turns me off about Amonkhet Limited at the GP is that you could open a pool that's jank, or you could open a pool that's just like, wow, you got all the removal and you got like four bombs that are all on color, and you're just like, oh man, I'm just gonna win out today. And so what is cool about, and why we're weighing our options, is just because, Modern deck, at least you have everything in there that
your strategy is there going in. You know what's going on.
Right.
But I mean, that's the case with any Limited at any event.
Exactly.
You're at the mercy of whatever you open, and you've got to make do with whatever you open.
Worst case scenario,
it's a dice roll.
We both drop out, and then we go do 2-headed side events, which almost sounds even more fun.
Yeah, honestly, that does sound more fun.
So
trying to win some big ass tournament. So that is my deck. The Drake Haven foil stamped was pretty cool. I ended up with a Hazaret. It's going to go in an EDH deck probably. Let me talk about this real fast. Soul Stinger and any of the cards that come in as beefy dudes for less than they should cost, but you have to put -1/-1 counters on stuff. So good. These cards are good. Soul Stinger is great. You should play these. A lot of times I would see a dude play a Soul Stinger, which is a 4/5 for 4, and then drop both -1/-1s on his Mana Dork that was an 0/3, because screw it. That turns the Mana Dork into an 0/1. Who cares? You got a 4/5 on turn 4. This format is fast.
Dude, I saw
learned
one guy
nothing
do
else,
the exact
it's
same
fast.
thing. He did the exact same thing, except he threw it was a green card, and he threw all the -1 counters onto a 1/1 that was going to turn into a 2/2 zombie when it died.
There you go.
So yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
this guy just plays one of these huge guys.
Yeah.
Nukes their little 1 cost that they want to die because they want zombies to get buffed anyway.
Definitely want to look at that.
Crazy.
The format is fast because of stuff like that. You just got to have a little, we'll call him a token dork, to suck up your -1/-1s. You could also play him on him. I saw a guy, because his Soul Singer's second ability is when he dies, you can put a -1/-1 counter on a target creature for each -1/-1 counter that he has. And so you can use him and take his own -1/-1s and use him as a block removal.
It's a pretty standout.
Or you can play him as a 4/5 beefy.
Yeah.
Which is, honestly, a 5 butt in this format is hard to remove.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
There's a
You
lot
don't
of first
wanna-
strike
you
in the
don't
set, but a
wanna
lot of the
waste-
first strike kind of rounds out at like 3 face.
Yeah.
And so 5 butt is going to be tough. Anyway, that's a side note. There are a lot of cards that bring in, that they cost less than they should because they bring in -1/-1 counters technically on themselves. Can go on any creature you have, though. Might want to take a peek at that because that definitely, I saw that be very successful in quite a few decks. Guys, thanks so much. Those are kind of our first impressions of the Limited. We're going to have more videos going forward. You know where to find us. Find us on the social medias. I ain't got to repeat all that. You got anything else?
I am tapped out.
I am tapped out. Thank you so much. Catch you later.
Goodbye. And thank you for spending your time with us.
Said it.